Hello and welcome to episode number 10 of the Lewiston Tribune Podcast. This is Matt Baney, managing editor of the Tribune, and I'm here with Trevan Pixley. Trevan's our online editor, and it's been a little while since you've been on the podcast, Trev, at least a couple weeks, right?
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been since, I think, the high school football playoffs.
Okay.
But it's good to be here for episode 10. We started this thing together.
That's
now
right.
We're here for the milestone episode 10,
Yeah,
Baney.
number 10.
The managing editor you are, not the city editor.
That's right. Thank you for giving me my proper title.
Yeah.
And today, we try to bring you folks whatever the biggest story of the week is, or also just an interesting story. And we kind of have more of the latter this week. Our Trevan Pixley has written again about his
Seizure Saga.
Seizure Saga. Thank you, Trevan. And readers of the Trib may remember a few months ago, Trevan wrote about his seizures, and he has another story in Sunday's paper about that. Really good column by Trevan. Be sure to check it out. Trevan, maybe kind of sum up what you're writing about in the Sunday paper for us.
Yeah, I go over pretty much my first two major seizures, which happened at two pretty historical landmarks for Lewiston, Bengal Field and the Bait Shop. The Bait Shop, maybe not being the same historical, reference, right? But historical to me, right? If you're a Lewiston guy, or if you're a Lewiston person, you love the Bait Shop.
Yes.
No one hates the Bait Shop,
No.
So, had to tie in the significance there, and go into those journeys and kind of reflect on what those two places meant to me as an individual and how the seizures took place there. It's kind of more of describing what those places meant to me and a little less on the seizures compared to my first upfront article there on my Seizure Saga.
I guess maybe let's start there then. Tell us a little bit about, forgetting about the seizures for a second, what is it that the Bait Shop and Bengal Field kind of mean to you?
Yeah, so the Bait Shop, first and foremost, that is like the whole family, the Pixleys. That's a place to get some grub. Me and my grandma would go there every year from when I was like a little kid until I maybe was in like middle school for breakfast every year. So that had some, personal significance there. And, I would always get the big pancakes, and the biscuits and gravy was my go-to. And as I, became older, didn't go with my family as much, but, whenever I wanted to go out and about and get some breakfast, that's where me and the crew would go. My friend group, we would all go to the Bait Shop, so had a lot of fun times there at that breakfast joint. Bengal Field, I've covered numerous games over there, and I played in numerous games as an athlete, from Pee-wee football all the way to high school football. So, what's not to love about Bengal Field?
And so, is it accurate to say you've been in mourning lately? Of course, readers of the Trib can tell you that Bengal Field not going away, but is sort of being retired. Lewiston High is moving all of their athletics up to the high school. All their football games now will be played at their new beautiful stadium up at the high school. And the Bait Shop recently closed. So those things kind of happened right in proximity with each other.
I know, and the Jacksonville Jaguars are also awful. And, I'm barely missing out on my fantasy football playoffs. So, my whole football viewing experience here in 2024 and just football as a whole has been kind of rough for me. It's been tough. It is kind of upsetting to see Bengal Field go, but it's cool that Lewiston High School has that new sports complex. We did a podcast with this room filled pretty much to capacity to talk about that.
Right.
So I think it is cool. It is sad to see that kind of retire. I do have some significant, personal moments there. One that I cut out of the column because it ended up making it too long, but in my senior year, we played Clarkson in the Battle of the Bridges game, and they tried to do an onside kick to start the game. And they must have thought I was the most unathletic looking person on the front line. And I knew I did because my dad recorded it, and there's a video of me doing it, returning this kick. And my knees weren't bent at all. I'm like standing straight up, and my elbow was taped because during warm-ups I had a wart on my elbow, and it scraped off during warm-ups. So I have a taped up elbow that's bleeding. So they're like, we're kicking it directly at 56. And we're going to get an extra possession. We're going to try and upset this, would-be Inland Empire League champs Bengals, And then they kicked it to me, and I hauled it in. Returned it for like a yard. So
and kept your mitts on it, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, and then I come to the sidelines, and, all my coaches are like, oh, you should have fair caught it. You should have fair caught it. Like, I'm not thinking about that at all. I'm literally the most unathletic person on the special teams return unit, and I've been a lineman my whole life. Fair catching it was not even in my mind. So
you were on the first line.
Yeah.
And they onside kick it.
And it got some air.
So they popped it up and tried to do that, but
I secured it.
Brought it into the bread basket.
Mm-hmm. And I was like right here, and the guy next to me was like a receiver DB. And, obviously I'm like the lineman. And he saw it, and he like jumped on top of me because he was like, he must have thought I was going to mess it up too. And I remember he was just on top of me, like on the spile, like, don't let go of it. Don't let go of it. I'm like, you didn't have to do all that. Like, I've played enough backyard recess football in my day to catch some footballs, That's why I really shined back in the day.
Well, so these two spots, these two landmarks in your life, Trevan, they also coincided with a couple seizures that you had, and I guess maybe tell us the story of your initial seizure ever was on the way to the bait shop. Is that right?
Yeah, so that was my first ever seizure, and I was on my way to get breakfast. So, at this point, I was working as a part-time sports writer and at KLEW, so I was, working late nights and stuff, so I wasn't often getting up that early. But that day I had, so I was like, you know what? Let's call the historic breakfast joint in Lewiston, the best place to get any breakfast here, the bait shop, to order some breakfast. And I did that. And, I hop in my first car that I ever bought with my own money. My Mazda 626, 1990, had automatic seatbelts. And
wow.
Yeah, I know. Big time. It was $500. And I hopped into that thing, and then I drive on my way to get some breakfast. I live on 29th Street, my first apartment in Lewiston, so kind of by Sunset Park in that area. Mm-hmm. So I cut through the Kmart parking lot, and it kind of like cuts off some traffic, but not really. And I get to that first stoplight once you get through the parking lot, like by Wendy's, and just completely black out. And that still to this day is the most confused I've been in my entire life. And I mean, as you can imagine, like, you're just driving, you black out, and there's two people you've never seen before in your life asking, like, what happened? Do you know where you are? Your shoulder's in, like, immense pain, and now, like, there's an ambulance turning down, like, where you're at to, like, pull you in a stretcher and stuff. So, I mean, it was just a lot at once, and it was still, like, it's hard to kind of completely, recollect what happened, because it all happened so fast. Yeah. And then it kind of, things from that day kind of started to become constant when I started to have more seizures. So, yeah.
And up until that time, you had no notion that you were prone to grand mal seizures.
Yeah, right? Nothing at all. And I had never been... Well, up until that point, I hadn't been to the ER at all, and like since I was like 4 years old, and like that's like when I like sprained my arm when I was like a little kid. Like, I had like no health issues. Like, I mean, I played football, I wrestled and stuff, didn't have like any major injuries at all. Just kind of like twisted my ankle one time.
Just a wart getting scraped.
Yeah, no wart getting scraped. Yeah, probably should have gone to the ER for some wart treatment, perhaps. But yeah, so I mean, it was all like happened so fast. Like right when I entered adulthood, like all the health issues happened, and I had no inkling of it at all.
And the saddest thing is you didn't get your biscuits and gravy.
That was the most sad part because they talk about the bait shop's pancakes a lot, and the best hotcakes in town, but they had the best biscuits and gravy in town too. Not a lot of people know that.
Oh.
Not a lot of people go the biscuits and gravy route when they would go to the bait shop.
So that was the bait shop seizure.
Yeah.
Tell us about your Bengal Field seizure.
Yeah, so the Bengal Field seizure, going back to my Mazda 626, this was the last drive I ever took in my Mazda 626. It was a Mazda 000 after that, out of commission. So I'm covering the 2019 Battle of the Bridges game between Clarkson and Lewiston. And my friend Barnage, shout out to Barnage, his mom had lived like right next to Bengal Field, and I would always park there because like how much of a hassle it is to get a parking spot at Bengal Field during a game. So I was going down there to park, and then as I turned down that like little small alley, I don't know what street it is, but as I'm turning down that alley, I just black out and then wake up, and I had crashed into a car, and my whole like front end of my car is totaled. My car is gone completely, and I turn over and I see like my old high school principal, my old high school athletic department, like just all these guys, and I'm like, what happened? And so again, just like a complete blackout. Some of the similar stuff, like I popped my shoulder out of place, which happens every time, no matter how severe or under severe it is, that seems to happen. And yeah, no, it was a sad day. That was the first car I lost during the seizures, and it wouldn't be my last. And yeah, very, very tragic day.
Do you have a tally now of how many seizures you've had?
My mom does. I think it's more than 10, but I don't know if it's more than 15.
Okay. So
I think it's somewhere in that range.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's something you're still dealing with, and
yeah, and it's kind of sad because I went more than like a year without him, and then I had like two within like a couple weeks stretch, and was it August, like late August, early September.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of crappy because we were doing so good for so long, but hopefully we can get another stretch going, or can just stop. That'd be cool. That'd be cool because that's the most frustrating part is going to the doctor and all they say after all these tests they do is just sometimes this stuff just happens, and then it's like, man. And
I remember that from your first column, and that that really bums me out that even with all the medical science we have now, a doctor just says, well, some people just have seizures, and you're one of them.
Yeah. I just fall into the, crap happens category. Yeah. And, it sucks, but, there's life lessons and good content to come from it,
Good content. Folks, let me say that Trevan, what's very impressive about him is he doesn't allow this to get to him, or he does his best to overcome it. And a lot of folks would, be depressed and bummed out about this, and I'm sure that at times you are, but I think you do a good job of trying to stay upbeat and just take it in stride as best you can.
Well, and it's easy. There have been times where I've been down about it. Like, I think these last two seizures were probably like the most down I was about it, because it was like, I went like a year without it, and I thought I was done, and like, I could kind of just not have to worry about it. And then, other stuff resurfaces like, I forgot I had this medical bill, or I forgot that this happened, and how am I going to get answers to this? And you're trying to figure a lot of stuff out. So that did kind of suck, but there's no use in dwelling on it, because you could kind of flip the script on it and be positive, because every day you have a choice to be negative or positive. I choose to be positive, yada, yada, yada. You know? Whatever. I don't know. I don't want to get too preachy about it because that's not me, but you know what I'm trying to say.
I hear you.
Yeah.
We're trying to get you a motivational speaking gigs here. You need to work on your preaching.
Yeah, I know. I got like midway through that. I'm like, yuck, what am I even saying?
Can you, Trevan, can you describe what it's like to have a seizure?
For me personally, I don't really know what happens during the actual event, but the aftermath for me is complete confusion. My shoulders are popped out of place. And that's the most constant thing, the most constant pain for me. And just kind of like a constant state of confusion, I think is the best way to put it. You're tired right after it. Doesn't matter if you just woke up or, whatever it is. So, yeah, I think that's kind of standard for the grand mal seizures of it. I don't think, a lot of people are around for that. I think that's kind of what grand mal seizures are, to be honest.
Okay.
I don't know.
You mentioned how with the very first one, you woke up and were completely confused and just didn't have any earthly idea. Now that it's unfortunately happened so many times, when you wake up, how long does it take for you to realize, oh, I've just had another seizure?
When I realize I'm looking up at somebody, I think, when somebody's like above me, I think, like when I realize that somebody's looking down on me, I don't know. I think once I've caused somebody else, once I've woken somebody else up, I don't know. I don't really. Everything's kind of just so confusing. I don't. The only time I've ever had a seizure and I was alone, it took me a while. It took me like 40 minutes, I think, probably to realize that I had one, because it was I was working in sports, and it was when I was living at Colton's house, and my friend Colton's house, and I seized in the shower, and I remember coming to, and I was just still sitting in the shower, and I was just breathing heavily, and then I finally woke up, and finally kind of got my wits about me, and my shoulders, figured out my shoulders were hurting, and then I texted my dad, who was supposed to pick me up, and he had been in the parking lot for like 40 minutes, like, what are you doing? Where are you? And I had to text him and be like, oh, I had a seizure. So, that kind of stuff. It's hard to tell in the moments for me, I think.
Well, Trevan, we're all rooting for you. I hope that your last seizure was your last one.
I hope so. Yeah. But if not, we can make more content.
Always looking for the silver lining.
Yeah, we can always monetize these.
That's right. Well, Trevan, thanks for the insight. Thanks for sitting down today, and everybody, thanks for joining this week's Lewiston Tribune Podcast. We'll be back again next week with a new topic, and so we'll talk to you then. Bye-bye.